Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Shirtless Plantain Show, the Arsenal edition. This is your host, Dean, and as always, I'm here with my co-host, Coach. How you doing, Coach?
Man, 3 points is 3 points. That's all it is, man.
Fucking spirit.
We all count.
And we're here with Gabby. What's going on, Gabby?
Here again, back again.
With such enthusiasm.
Listen, it's just I'm already thinking forward. Because you already know I might not be here in that next pod. I will not be here for that Chelsea pod.
This woman hates Chelsea. I understand.
I hate that.
That said, I want to switch it up a little bit today. Let's start with a question. Given the way we exited the Champions League in midweek, unfortunately, there was a lot of chatter on many of the Arsenal pods and on the timelines about how Arsenal sort of lacks star quality. So I suppose it begs a question. If there was a player from a past Arsenal team that you could add to this team to add some star power or a missing piece to this team, who would you pick, Gabby?
Well, you already know my answer. My favorite Arsenal player ever, Santi Cazorla. I don't know, he's not star power for a lot of people, but like he is everything that we're lacking right now. He's a dribbler. He's a set piece specialist. Like he's a perfect midfielder. He does not lose the ball. That game against Manchester City at the Etihad where we won 2-0, yes. That guy was bossing the midfield by himself because Coquelin wasn't doing shit. But that's not the point.
Yeah, we were eating up that performance for many years. Yeah. Coach wasn't that impressed, though, if I recall correctly. But that's neither here nor there.
I was. I just feel like definitely was. That was a great performance, and I think I was more impressed with Arsene Wenger because he changed the composition of the team that match. Like we were playing a certain way for most of the season. He's like, okay, boys, it's workhorse mode now, and we just strangled them. We suffocated them. There was no space for them, and like there was so much running from all the midfielders, Coquelin, Ramsey, Cazorla. Everyone was just, and Cazorla obviously being the most technically talented player on the pitch for us. He stepped up. He did what had to be done. Do you know what I mean? He scored a penalty, great assist from a free kick as well. Like I can't complain about that. But my player,
yes, there we go. I was gonna say cool memory, bro. All right, move on.
my player would be Aaron Ramsey. I think he's done enough in the Champions League already to show that he's that guy. I've been fortunate enough to see him.
You make me sick. You make me sick. Hates Alexis but loves Aaron Ramsey.
Absolutely, because Aaron Ramsey is a fantastic footballer and a fantastic central midfielder.
I have an agenda against Aaron Ramsey, so I can't.
That's fine. That's absolutely fine. That's absolutely
if
fine.
If we'd known this, we never would have invited you to this podcast.
Honestly, there would have been no discussion to be had. But
at all.
One of the main reasons why is because Ramsey's number one, his engine is just. It was one of his biggest attributes, and you know how much Arsenal have to run in this current team. The fact that he's a very underrated quality of his is that he's two-footedness. Ramsey spraying passes from deep with both feet. He's risk-taking, dribbling with the ball, and with his passing as well. And the fact that he shoots incredibly well with both feet as well. I mean, I can point to the Monaco game away from home. Yeah, we won 2-0, but we didn't go through. Ramsey got the opener. He got the second goal. Kind of thing, but that entire night, him and Ozil were just taking it in turns to pop into space and to find each other in space over and over again. It feels as if he's the sort of player that in these tough away games in the Champions League, he always finds an extra gear. I remember again against Bayern Munich in 12-13.
All right, enough with your memories. Enough. That's enough. We're here to talk about
Ramsey would be especially for the left eight.
This was an excuse for you to talk shit about Alexis, and you missed your chance. So we're moving on. Do not say a fucking word. I will jump through the screen and fight you. Arsenal 2, Wolves 0 at the Molineaux. Gabby, how are you feeling mood-wise? Obviously, we were all a bit down about what happened in midweek, and the whole focus was we have to bounce back. Did you think we would actually do it?
Okay, so this "we were all down" thing, I tweeted it was well because it is. It just. My predictions for what was going to happen for the season has already come to pass. So I felt nothing. They can't hurt me. They can't hurt me. They can't hurt me like they did last season. So it just is what it is. But they did need to bounce back just to show that they have, that mentality monster thing going on still. And I'm just glad that they got the win. I mean, I know we always say it doesn't need to be pretty, just get the win. 3 points is all that matters at the end of the season. And we're deep in the running now, and all that matters is the 3 points, especially because you didn't get it against Aston Villa.
Well said. Coach, you were in Munich with your cheap plane ticket. You came back all sad and shit. Actually, you weren't that sad. You were pretty optimistic, which is so weird. You're like the grumpiest Arsenal fan I know, but you've been so optimistic this season. I don't like it very much. I don't like when you're happy, man. Like I gotta ruin some shit in your life or something to make me feel better. But what did you think about the lineup today? Once you guys came in, Kivior came back in. It was a Rice, Odegaard, Kai midfield.
It was. Do you know what's funny? A lot of people have been complaining about the fact that we reverted to type and gone back to what we were doing pre Dubai in terms of our lineup, with exception of Kiri, obviously, and the fact that our midfield is like probably like one of the reasons why we were getting through games but not really blowing teams away. And I think the exact opposite. I think it's great the fact that we can actually change pace and actually just try and win games a different way, because a lot of the reasons why we burnt out last season and the reason why we ran out of ideas because we literally played the exact same way against every single team. So I was pretty pleased with the lineup. I mean, we went away to City last year trying to blow them away and then we're getting blown away ourselves. It just didn't work. So teams probably lined up thinking, I'll line up against thinking they're going to go Jorginho. They're going to try and press us high, keep the ball, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, nope, we're just going to go direct to Kai kind of thing. And now you set your team from a certain way. How do you deal with it? And it's not like that midfield can't actually adapt to the way they play. It's just that the strengths of that midfield allows us to do so much. So I'm pretty pleased with it, to be honest.
Okay. I liked it personally because I feel as if Wolves are one of the teams in the league that have like a lot of legs in their midfield. And it felt like this was a running game, if you will. So when you're thinking about Arsenal's running midfield, this is probably the best we can offer in terms of guys that just have legs and can get up and down the field, win second balls and all the rest. But
there's a joke in there somewhere, but I won't make it.
You say the joke then, because it's right over my head.
I was gonna say, if this is the best midfield we got with the legs. There's a joke in there somewhere about some of y'all men's number 5, but
yeah. I see what you mean there. That said, I guess there's an argument that there should have been more rotation today, Gabby. I saw a lot of people complaining that we weren't starting certain people, like maybe Fabio Vieira could have come in, maybe ESR could have gotten minutes from the start. We didn't even see these motherfuckers at all, but we'll get to that later.
I don't know what Fabio has done to Mikel, but he hates him so bad. He hates that boy so bad. Like there was even a moment, like I think it was like deep in the second half where he's like warming up on the sideline and he still doesn't come in. And I was like, yeah, he hates that boy. Like he hates him. There's no reason. I'm not one of those like Arsenal fans who wants to do wholesale changes where we just swap like 5 people and do whatever. Like we're not doing that. Obviously, Mikel would never do that during the Prem game unless he absolutely has to. But it's not in a ridiculous shout for people to call for Fabio, which I was, call for Fabio to be in there. Like it just is. I feel like it's just so obvious what we need, and he's very good at what we are lacking in. Like the final ball is just not there. You could see it all throughout, especially throughout that first half. They were just overcooking things or undercooking things, and even when they got into the box, nobody wanted to shoot. Fabio's both a shooter and he's a like very good facilitator. I don't know what Mikel's problem is, but he needs a slap.
Coach, what you make of that?
No, I absolutely agree in terms of what we expected and what we got. My biggest issue genuinely with that first half was the fact that we clearly looked as if we looked like a team that was playing within themselves almost at times. And when we did get into those like situations, we didn't really go for the kill as much. There was an extra pass. You know what I mean? Yeah, we were shooting from outside the box, but it was like sometimes we're inside the box, you cut in, and then instead of looking towards goal, looking to commit your man, you've cut in. Sometimes I kept thinking of Brighton. Gabby Jesus went directly for Lamptey and won a pen. I didn't see enough of that. We had enough. I think statistically, we had our second most touches in the opposition box this game, right? And I didn't see anybody try and commit for a penalty until I think very late into the second half. Basically, it was strange. So yeah, no, Gabby's right. Sometimes a player that takes initiative, sometimes in these games, is essentially what you need. Sometimes. So yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, interestingly enough, even though Odegaard got that, the capper at the end with the late goal,
Mm.
in a sense, and this is hindsight, but it actually felt like based on his overall performance, this might have been a good game to give him a break. Like maybe give ESR the first half and give Fabio the
No,
second.
you don't say.
He seemed a little leggy. I remember like the first two times I noticed him in the first half was when Chirewa, who was actually pretty impressive, and Traore as well for Wolves, they both shoved him off the ball on multiple occasions where he had the ball, he had a chance to face their goal and move forward with it, and he just was kind of doing his little tippy tappy like I got the best technique in the world, and these guys just came through like you're not an African, fall down, nigga. I ain't like that shit, and I thought to myself, I'd much rather see Fabio falling there with Odegaard with his legs up on the bench, recovering a little bit. But what happened. The left side of our team was essentially extinct against Bayern and probably against Aston Villa last week. And today we had Kivior at the back, Kai in midfield, in quotes, and Trossard out on the wing with Gabby Jesus kind of naturally dropping into that space as well. Did it work better, or was I just imagining that, Gabby?
I don't know if it necessarily worked better. They did combine a little bit to like we created enough chances. Like if we had scored the chances that we have created, I wouldn't be complaining as much. Let's just say that. But I don't know if it worked better than what we had before. I'm not a person who hates Kai in the midfield. I think that's a ridiculous notion that people just like use as a scapegoat argument. But I don't mind. I think I prefer him up top more than Jesus and Jesus out in the wing. I know Trossard left 8 doesn't work really. Like he doesn't really have a spot where he can just start and play well. But yeah, I wouldn't say it worked better. It was all right. I mean, they did the thing that they always do. They're like the floaters floating and like there just wasn't enough. The thing that I'm always complaining about, I feel like, is that there just wasn't enough directness, if that makes sense. Like the one person who's good at just one thing, doing the one thing that they're good at. Everybody's trying to do everything. So it's just like a bunch of people just like floating around trying to get the ball, and everybody wanted ball to flee except Kai, basically.
Right. Well said. Coach, what did you make of the left side today?
No, I agree. I agree as well. But I think one of the key components is Gabby Jesus. His ability on the ball is it's one of my favorite things about him, and it's probably one of the reasons why he is an Arsenal player as well, to be honest, because of those qualities. But the reason why City could afford to let him go, because they have tons of players like that as well. But him floating in and out with Trossard, 2 excellent players on the ball, means that the options on that side are a lot better to pass. Because Kai and Kyrgios, for all their qualities, are not as good on the ball as Zinchenko and maybe even Xhaka was last year. So yeah, I think it works a lot better because they just seem to have a relationship where they interchange. And if you swap that for someone like Martinelli, while he's a gifted player and talented, all these qualities lie in facing the goal. They lie in facing the goal. They don't really lie in helping with the build up kind of thing. So I feel like that side works. That side works better with more technicians, but also it's an option to have to just throw the ball up there for a flick on. There were plenty of times I saw in the first half, even in the second half, like the ball just went up to Havertz and he flicked it on, and one of Trossard or Jesus was ghosting into the space. It's a different way of playing to the right hand side, which is obviously the technical hub and the brain of the team. So
the other interesting development I noticed today was that Declan Rice was kind of dropping into the right back zone a lot, kind of like Xhaka used to do on the left side back in the day. And it's interesting because a big part of our analysis of his blending into the team over the last year, I guess we'd call it a season, if you will, is that he actually prefers to play more on the left side. But today I saw him on several occasions in both halves dropping into basically Ben White's space, and Ben White, I guess, essentially inverting or going further up the field, and Declan Rice trying to pass or play make from there, or sometimes carry the ball. What do you make of that, Gabby? Like, is that something you want to see more of in the future? Do you think it helped us a lot today or not?
I don't know. I wouldn't say I don't want to see more of it, but like if you've listened to me on this pod before, I'm a traditionalist, so I want my fullbacks to be fullbacks. Like, and I don't necessarily want the like defensive midfielder who's supposed to be our Rodri like dropping back to cover that space. But it didn't look terrible, and like Ben got into some really good positions because like Declan Rice was covering for him. That's the only way this team works. Somebody has to cover for that space. And even Kiwi had like like Declan Rice had a few moments where he was on the left hand side and Kiwi got forward like into the box or like at least to the byline to try to get the ball forward. I just think that's the thing that Arteta asked him to do, especially when he's playing the 6, not when he pushes him up into the 8 and like Jorginho's playing with us or whatever. We're probably going to see it a bunch more throughout the rest of the season now because we're only playing. I almost said we're only playing 1 game a week, but that's technically not true.
But yeah. Coach, I'm sorry, I can't tell if Coach is ready or not because he's disappeared.
I'm definitely ready.
You're definitely ready. Okay, this feels like a topic you'd want to get in on. If I move on without you getting to pitching on this, you're going to get mad at me. So Declan Rice fall into the right back zone. What do you think about that?
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it only because it means that there's going to be space somewhere else if he essentially passes into it. So, but at the same time, I don't feel like his range of passing is there just yet, where if he picks the ball up there, he can send it 70 yards onto somebody's chest or literally in behind the defense. But maybe that's not what he needs to do, to be honest. So yeah. The thing is Declan Rice, and we're probably going to have to touch on it in the second half because we saw some things in that second half for sure. But the thing about Declan Rice is I don't feel like there's a genuinely outstandingly weak part of his game. I just think he's really good at everything. The things that he's better than at other areas kind of thing. I feel like the gap isn't that huge anyway. So, there's a lot of talk about, receiving the ball under pressure or receiving the ball, back to goal and stuff like that. I think it's overstated a little bit. Don't get me wrong, he's not a Busquets. Again, nobody is. He's not many a player, but those things to me seem to be mitigated by the fact that he's just such a physical specimen that it almost doesn't matter if he keep the ball because they can't get around him, they can't knock him off the ball. So yeah, I think picking the ball up in those areas is a good thing because somebody will enter that vacant space for Arsenal 100%. So,
what's that, Coach? So now we do the Kivior section, and that means that Gabby is going to be responsible for all this shit because that's your boy. That is your boy. Did you sense a lack of confidence in him today? Because the one chance I remember Wolves having was when João Gomez robbed him of the ball. It was a tricky bounce. I'll give him that. It was a tricky bounce, but he should have handled that situation better. And he started panicking me. And Raya had to make an amazing save. And I guess the first question I ask you is, forget the Kivior thing for a second. Is that the save that Raya needed to make to calm people down about the fact that he hasn't necessarily made a big save in the game yet? Was that the save? Because that was a big save for me.
Survey says yes. But like me being the captain of the Kivior squad, the Kivior hive, if you will, I genuinely I wasn't scared in this game, even though he like had a few defensive laps because Kiwi has this way about him where he knows that like when he's fucked up, he like goes to like up it or like raise his level, but not overcompensate, in which like I feel like when I'm watching Zinchenko, he does that. He like the first, I think it was the first time that who was the player? It wasn't Lamina, it wasn't on yet. It was
João Gomez.
Yes. When Gomez comes, like he pushes him for the ball, like that was a tricky bounce, but like he doesn't do the thing that I used to love that Xhaka does in midfield. He like didn't position himself in between the ball and the man. He kind of just thought the ball was still going to drop for him and it didn't. And the man ran past him. Like he wasn't like positionally, he wasn't ready for the ball. And Raya, that was just a great save. I like cannot state that enough. That was a fantastic save. I didn't even know he touched it. I thought that he just hit it, like he just hit the post, genuinely. When I saw the replay and it saw like Raya hit it onto the post and out, I was like, damn, like it's like that. Like, okay. I mean, I always had faith in you, but talk your shit, boy. Like, yeah, I love that for him. I think there's still a lot of people. I think it's stupid, but there's still a lot of people in this fan base who genuinely need to see him. He doesn't make saves in big moments like we need, like Ramsdale or whatever the fuck they be saying. Some stupid shit. But yeah, that was just a great save that he did. Like, and he was just so calm at the back. He was just so calm. Like, he never had I know he had some moments of distribution that went out of play and everything, but like genuinely he didn't look like rattled. Even when Kiwior was a little rattled and then grew into the game in the second half. But yeah, Kiwi was just like, it happened twice. I said, just get yourself together. And then it didn't really happen again in that second half. And they were still running at him in that second half, but he was like, nah. So fair enough.
No, I tell you what I love about David Raya is it's not even him per se. It's the fact that Arteta, no matter what people say, he's gonna play him anyway. He doesn't give a shit about what people say, and he hasn't had the best moments, some of the best moments this year. Even though I think largely he's been pretty damn good, you know. But when he has been called upon, today especially is one of those games where when it came to for calling for a calm, I think he was just outstanding. Like some of the crosses that he claimed today, they just took the sting out of any of Wolves. Just took the sting out of it. Literally sucked the air out of it completely. Pause. And the fact that he was talking to his defenders, and he was actually getting annoyed with them, saying, "Guys, stop." You're basically saying, like, stop fucking rushing, basically. Like, just take your time. And that's what you need from your goalkeeper, because the goalkeepers are essentially the first ones to spot danger because they see the entire game. And the fact that he's basically telling these guys that, look, if you do this, if you do A or B kind of thing, we will be fine. And they were listening to him, to be fair. Like, it's such a calming presence. Like, I love playing with goalkeepers that are a bit nuts, that will literally like get at you the entire game because they know what the fuck they're talking about for the most part, unless you're Jordan Pickford. But but yeah, no, I'm really pleased with him, man. And again, like, I think there was a cross from Doherty in the second half where he's flashed it in, and I thought it was going to cross goal, and Reyes caught it in such a convincing fashion. I think at that point Wolves actually gave up. Like, I think that was the moment. I don't remember having a chance after that.
I think that genuinely, that's the first thing I noticed about Raya when he came into our team for Ramsdale. Like, that it was his high claims and the way that he like commits to crosses. He's coming out for the ball every time. Like, even if he doesn't get it, he's still coming out for it. He's going to yell that he's coming out for the ball. I genuinely love that he's so proactive because I don't worry about it. Like, he looks so convincing when he goes to catch it.
And he gave somebody a tiger knee as well. I forgot who it was.
Yeah, he gave Mario Lemina a tiger.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That looked dangerous.
Lemina got the absolute snot rocked out of him. Like I felt bad. I'm not even gonna lie.
I was talking shit when he was on the floor when the play first happened because I didn't see what happened. But when I saw the replay, I was like, oh my God, he could have severed his spine.
He almost killed him. Like,
but we all know though, like when you get that close to a goalkeeper that's about to claim a high ball, most goalkeepers will put their knees up to protect themselves. So you have to watch yourself. That was on Lemina, not the goalkeeper, because the goalkeeper is going to protect himself. You protect yourself as well. But Gabby said a really apt word in her last statement, which is that Raya is proactive. I think that's essentially the difference between him and someone like Ramsdale, who is also a goalkeeper, but he's more reactive. That's why he made so many big saves, because, you know, instead of claiming the cross before the shot came in, the cross would actually come in. Then he'd save the shot instead. You know, I'd much rather the guy stops the danger ahead of time and doesn't shine what the camera saves afterwards. You know, but that's me. That first half was very reminiscent, even though we mostly controlled the game despite the Yao Gomez moment. It was very reminiscent of that period in December where we would control games and sort of play within ourselves. And when we did create chances, we weren't very aggressive about taking those shots. Was anyone genuinely scared that these boys were about to fuck the season up?
Blow my face up again. Blow my face up again, because I need to speak a PSA directly to these players. If you guys are looking at this, if you guys are watching this, first of all, thank you for watching this. But if you guys are watching this, why do you guys hate to shoot? Someone explain to me why you hate to shoot in the box. There is a moment where we get into the box and the ball drops kindly. I think it was for Odegaard or Trossard, and they just don't put their foot through it. Like, and then the chance just fades away. I'm screaming at the TV, like, Just shoot. And the amount of times that Declan Rice or someone else has gotten to a position at the top of the box, not even that far away, at the top of the box, just put your foot through it. Why are you recycling? You guys,
this woman is exasperating.
you guys, please, I beg. Like, you know how people say cross it, inshallah? Shoot it, inshallah. Just shoot the ball. And stop trying to side foot everything. Put your laces through the ball. I beg.
Inshallah. That is the best advice anyone has offered anyone on this pod for years. Coach, I was thinking I was going to give Gabriel and Saliba and Ben White as well a lot of, even Kivior, to be the whole defense. I thought they were actually very aggressive with their passing. When the ball got to the midfield, things kind of slowed down. Am I remembering that correctly?
No, you're right. I think especially with Saliba, do you know what, in this, quote unquote shitty run of form we've had since last Sunday, I think Saliba is probably the one that's come up.
I'm sorry, that's the most arrogant shit I ever heard in my life.
Well, we had a smelly defender, Gallus, talking a little bit too crazy.
Oh, yeah, listen, he's bitch made. He needs to shut the fuck up.
he's a fucking cunt. Fuck that guy.
But I think Saliba's probably the one that's come out looking the best this week, genuinely, because I think he's been pretty outstanding in all 3 games. Away to Bayern, I thought he was great, but today he's carrying out from the back, and his choice of passes. There's probably only one pass I think I was annoyed he didn't make, but apart from that, he was really aggressive with committing players and just punching it between the lines. And I think that actually helps just keep us calm. So because there was a lot of stuff that I saw against Bayern that I didn't see today, and one of the main things that I was a bit ashamed of today was the fact that I was getting really antsy and really anxious watching the game. I was like, I think when Kiro's first mistake, I literally almost screamed at my TV. I was so angry, but nobody else was mad. The after players were all calm, level-headed. They were fine. And I realized that a lot of the anxiousness is literally in my head. Watch the game for what it is. Don't watch the game for the potential repercussions. Watch the game for what it is and what is happening. And the players looked absolutely fine today. They looked composed and focused and ready to go the distance. Genuinely, I think that's a lot of things that we do when we watch football games as fans, that we project. We think the worst and think, oh no, the players are thinking the same thing as well. When it's like, these are professionals, and they want to win they probably want to win more than us, But we'll watch games because we know how crucial the game is, and we forget that someone like Martinelli doesn't buckle under pressure. He just doesn't. Saka's still young, and last year he had a few little moments, but generally Saka today was fine. Again, he was getting kicked up and down, which at this point we're used to, but it's still disgusting. But he looked fine. He looked composed. Havertz was what is probably the coolest guy in the Midlands right now. We looked very ready for the challenge today, and I think that starts from, again, radar, our defense. It really transmitted through the team.
Yeah, Saliba had one ropey moment where he tried to he ignored the obvious pass to play a longer pass up to Saka, but it got intercepted. But he closed the space down so quick, and the guy just booted it out. So it was all good because I was about to put that in my notes, like, I'm finna yell at this pretty motherfucker. I guess I can't do that.
Yeah, he was trying to force it there, and I was like, relax.
Yeah. But that was basically it. Otherwise, it was imperious.
I was gonna say, I think Saliba played the line splitting pass for Odegaard's second goal, for the second goal that Odegaard scored too.
If I remember correctly, yeah.
Yeah, I just remember that the three starting midfielders were involved in that goal, which, coach is a big fan of both strikers scoring a goal in the game or combining for a goal. I'm a big fan of the midfielders all combining for a goal. That shit was great. But we'll get there in a while. Now it's time to talk about the goal because that shit was tremendous. I'm personally calling it my favorite finish of the season so far. And this is not being a prisoner of the moment. Havertz popped up in the right half space. He crossed it over to the left where Jesus was in the box. He held it up while he was on the floor. He got up, laid it up for Trossard. Trossard essentially toes it into the top corner. It should look beautiful to me.
That was a great
alongside the one at Goodison Park, where he opened up his body on his weak foot to score the only goal of that game. Those are my two favorite finishes this season. which means to me that Trossard is probably my favorite finisher at the club. Gabby, which one of those two finishes was better?
Oh God, did he use the opposite foot for both? Like one
No.
for
He
He's
used
the
the
same
Everton
foot, right?
one.
weak foot at Goodison, correct foot today.
Okay, I thought so. Because the one for at Goodison, I'm not gonna lie, that one, that one floors me every time I watch it. It's just such a
Doesn't
good
hit
goal.
the
But
bar.
this one was like, he scuffs it, and it's still an incredibly outrageous shot. Like Trossard is just so clinical. Is not even like it. Just feels like it's not good enough to use for him. I need a better word. He just amazes me sometimes. Like Trossard is a real shooter. That's what I call him. He's a real shooter because that boy, he gonna hit the ball. He gonna strike through the ball. Like that went top bin. If you like saw the camera angle that I saw, it went top bins off the post into the net. Like no goal. The best goalkeeper in the world is not saving that. Like
Nah.
that was outrageous, and we needed it. We needed a moment of magic, which is what we say a lot, and he brought that. And
it was
Trossard,
right before the half.
well and by far, has been our most clutch player this season.
Coach, given how good Trossard is at finishing, I know his physicality is on zero. But is there an argument that when he's on the field with the people he was on the field with today, so we're talking Havertz and Jesus, is there an argument that he should be more central because he's more likely to shoot than any of the other guys?
Yeah, I think ironically he's a good facilitator, but I feel like the others respect he's finishing, and I feel like if you've got Havertz, Jesus, and Odegaard close to him, they're gonna make space for him essentially to get a shot off, and I think they respect it, and I think that's good. I think that's a good thing. So yeah, I think whenever we can, if he goes into space from the left, but he ends up in the center of the pitch, more power to him, and it's great kind of thing. I just don't feel like it's nice when he's isolated out on the left, because don't get me wrong, he's not bad in 1v1 situations, but everybody in the Premier League seems to be a physical behemoth, and they're all strong, they're all quick, they're all really big guys kind of thing that he seems to come up against regardless of opposition. And I feel like him just being a little bit more cleverer means he gets that half yard. In his interview, he said, look, he knew he didn't have enough time, so he knew he had to hit it a particular way. Like, he's clearly a technician, in what he does, and he really thinks about these things. So, yeah, getting him central with all those other players around him is great. I don't think it works when there's lesser able players around him, basically. I feel like Trossard in these moments needs to be around pretty much our best players, or else it just doesn't work.
Well said, Coach. So which was your choice, Goodison or this one for the finish?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm gonna go this one. Because I feel like just the importance as well of it as well. It's probably one of the loudest goals I screamed at my TV, because I felt I was still feeling the tension at the time. So it was great just before halftime, and yeah, the commentators talking about this half couldn't have gone any better for Wolves, whatever, blah blah blah, and they were like, no, fuck that. Here's a shit sandwich for you to talk about during your halftime.
Yeah, technically wise, this was the goal. But I will say, for moment wise, it's the Goodison one for me, because I need that Goodison curse to be over. I fucking hate playing at that place.
Fuck a curse. Gabby, at halftime, were you thinking we needed to change anything?
At halftime, no. But by the 60th minute, sure was.
Why was that? Why was that?
Because I wanted to see. I think we talk about being the best out of possession team a lot, and like the way that we play and the press that we have, which Martin Odegaard definitely is the leader of the press a lot of the times in almost every game. Everybody looked just dead on their feet for a while until Declan Rice pulled some like engine out of his ass and just started marauding up and down the field. But yeah, everybody looked dead on their feet, and I was just like, I think we need some subs now. Like, I think we're starting to get into a lull. Not that Wolves were going that much into the game. They weren't really creating that many chances, but they had a lot more possession. We weren't pressuring them as much as I wanted us to, especially due to the fact that in the first half and at the beginning of the second half, we were pressuring them so much that they were giving away the ball in and around their own box. And I was like, keep doing that. But we were so tired that we couldn't keep doing that. At least to me, it looked like they were so tired. I was just like, yeah, we're huffing and puffing a little bit too much. Like, let's get some fresh legs in here.
Yeah, that's fair. Those are all very accurate observations. But I will say the one thing I have to give the players and Arteta credit for is that I feel like they definitely came out of the half with more intensity than I expected. Because
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
thinking, okay, we have a lead. We're probably going to drop off a bit. Because even when we haven't had a lead in the last 2 games, we haven't really started second halves better, if you will. Coach, what'd you make of that?
I think pretty much straight away. I was talking to my friend Deji about it, and we were like, "Oh shit, we want to kill this game ASAP. We want to get out of it as quickly as we can." And it didn't happen the way we wanted to, but I was really encouraged. And this is what I was talking about earlier when I said I want to talk about, you know, the players' engines and whatnot, and you know, if it means, you know, we actually are trying to conserve our energy a bit more, and hence the composition of our midfield and Arteta, you know, changing things a little bit. We clearly upped the intensity. Like, we looked way more intense at that half in the first half, which is encouraging. It to me, it shows a couple of things, but it shows the main thing, that this talk about fatigue and Arteta running the players into the ground, a lot of it is in our heads. Don't get me wrong, the players need rest, and I'll be the first to admit I would love to see Saka do 60 minutes, you know, if possible, you know, especially at this stage of the season, as long as the game is safe. But the simple fact is, these guys are mega fit at the top of the game, kind of thing. So they pull out, they get second and third and fourth wins and whatnot, kind of thing. And they showed it, especially those first 20, 25 minutes of that second half.
Yeah,
I think were just fantastic. You know, we looked like we were going for a lot of stuff I complained about in the first half. We looked like we were going for the kill then, and we should have made it safe way before Odegaard ended up having to do it with essentially the last kick of the game. But yeah, I think there was a message there from Arteta to the boys to essentially say, look, they've got a bunch of injuries where we are, like, he was basically trying to convince them, look, we are fresh, and the players believed it and they showed it.
Yeah, I was especially impressed with Havertz in that period. For a guy that started the season so tentative, so passive, he was at the gun range when we started. I mean, he took the first shot of the game, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, he did, literally like 36 seconds in.
I didn't even have the game on yet, and he, like, I was like, looking at the timeline, like, he shot? Like,
but yeah, Gabby pointed something very interesting. Like, we had that good period, but a goal didn't come of it. So the game kind of felt like it was about to start drifting. The 65th minute came. I'm like, Mikel, this is usually your time to do something. You didn't do anything. What's going on here? Like, it's the time of the season when we could really spare some legs here, and no one was really warming up or anything. But I remember, my notes essentially say, why is Mikel like this? The momentum is shifting. Like, why is he like this? Do something, bro.
he likes to be reactive sometimes, and it very much annoys me.
Yeah. But his first sub was Martinelli in for Trossard. To
Lovely.
that point, Trossard was my man of the match. I don't think I liked that very much, personally. I understood it, but I didn't like it.
I'll tell you why I liked it. Sorry, Gab. I'll tell you why I liked it, because Wolves play a 3-4-3, and it's late in the game, and there's going to be more gaps. We saw proof of that straight away. We saw proof of that pretty much straight away. And the fact is, Martinelli's our quickest player, and he's arguably, you know, our best finisher. I secretly think he is, despite the shitstorm that he's served up the last God knows how many months. But him running with the ball when a team is chasing into space is a nightmare. It's one of the worst things you can see. You can see as an opposition fan, basically. So I like that. I like that sub. And again, getting him behind the wing back and running at their wide CBs is just tactically, it's perfect. It's what you want. He's one of those players that you'd love to see in it. But with that being said, I still think there's a little bit of rust on him. He doesn't look fully ready yet to me. He still looks like, it's weird saying that with 5 games to go, that he looks like he could do with some, you know, like some game time.
Like
the season's fucking finished pretty much.
Yeah. It's not looking good, bro. I don't know. I don't really have anything to add to that. I'm just be real with you. Like,
I'll ask you a question then, Gabby. Do you think Martinelli will have, in the last 5 games, will he have a moment or a game that sort of puts a bow on his season where we're like, you know what, he didn't have the greatest season overall, but he showed out in that one game? Do you think we can expect that in the remaining 5 games of the season?
If it's going to be against anybody, it would probably be against Spurs. If there's any team to run up and down against, I genuinely like, because I don't think it's going to be against Chelsea. I don't think it's going to be against Chelsea. I know he scored. I know he scored.
I feel like he gives it to
huge
Chelsea
games.
quite often.
I know,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
just can't see it. But I also am like have blinders on because I hate them so much. I can't. I just have a bad feeling about that game in general, and I need them to prove me wrong. But yeah, I was like the Everton game, the Bournemouth game. I mean, I can't see him having a damn, he was really good in this game. Like, I genuinely don't see it. I think this is kind of a throwaway season for him, which is very annoying and unfortunate. He's going to have to go back to the drawing board in the summer and figure out what to do. Because I don't think that Mikel is going to do anything that makes us look so vastly different. Like I don't think our season next season is going to look so different than it did like when we added the people in the summer for this season, if that makes sense. Like I don't think he's going to change positions that much. I don't think he's going to add and tinker too much that will look unrecognizable again. I don't think that's going to happen. So if he doesn't do that and Martinelli is still playing on our wing, he can't have another season like this season. He just can't. Like he needs to, I don't think he's going to have like a 15, 20 goals a season like he did last season, but like he can't look like this. He has to be able to figure things out on his own if he's going to be isolated on that wing, or we have to get someone else and move him inside.
Coach, fair enough. Coach, what do you think is most likely outcome for Martinelli long term?
Long term,
Long term.
I think Arteta probably recognizes that he needs to strip back his game a little bit and ask him to do like just the basics in terms of forward play, running behind, shoot. If the shot is not on, look for someone in space. Basically, when we don't have the ball, keep shape. Because I feel like more than anybody, I'm not saying Martinelli is not an intelligent player. Of course he is, but I feel like loading some like Martinelli with instructions is counterproductive. And I think Arteta is slowly learning that. Hence why he started, for example, started playing him on the right. You know, sometimes when he comes on for Saka. In the last month, I think he's come off the bench twice and he's played on the right. And everyone knows a right footer playing on the right, especially for Arsenal, usually means that you are the man that goes into space. You've seen it over the years. Ljungberg, Walcott. It's one of those things. So I feel like Arteta slowly recognized that, look, this guy can score me a lot of goals. Let me just find a way to build a team that can carry someone like him. And funny enough, we actually spoke about a midfield that could and should do that. I think on what day was it? Thursday when I got back, we were talking about it. And I'm not saying this is the end product, but again, looking at the profiles kind of thing, the midfield dictates what sort of forward line we put out there. If it's a strong midfield that's got a lot of running power that can pass forward really quickly kind of thing, we may be able to carry, and I put in quotes, a passenger forward. And Martinelli fits that mold perfectly. He's quick as fuck. He can play on the shoulder kind of thing. He might not have to track back as much. And he can just, be a constant thorn in the side of a defense.
All right. So in this moment,
before we get
I
off
want us to bow our heads very briefly before we proceed here and pray for Frankie de Jong. Okay, don't pray for Frankie de Jong. Gabby, go on.
I was going to say, before we get away from Martinelli, do you think that he should have scored that last goal at the end?
I think he should have scored two. I think he should have scored two.
Okay, I'm glad we're all on the same page because I was watching that happen. I wasn't even worried about it because I was like, oh, Martinelli scores this. And then he did it, and I was like, what did I just watch?
I was fuming. And the other one, I thought he should just square to Saka. If he was going to shoot from that acute angle, it's like, bro, like people rarely score from there. Like, do you practice that shot? A 3-footed step back, come on, man. Like Patrick, you ain't got to talk to that boy. Coach, I'm going to go to you for the next sub. We had Gabby Jesus go off for number 5. And I got to say, because for a while there, after it went like 70 minutes into the game and Wolves got into it a little bit, they didn't really create anything. They just kind of got into it. Their crowd got up because they're like, well, it's still 1-0. It's towards the end of the game. We're bringing on some of our veterans that can only give us 10, 20 minutes. I think Sarabia came on, Ryan Aït-Nouri came on, and they had more of the ball. They weren't doing shit with it. But I think that when we brought 5 on, it sort of, and pushed Declan Rice into the left 8 spot, that's when Rice found that extra gear and essentially stole the man of the match award, if you will. Because up until that point, it was either like Trossard or, weirdly enough, even though we haven't talked about him much, Ben White. But I think in that last 20 minutes,
I think Saliba was
why we paid the money.
Yeah, I think Saliba was in the running for it as well for me personally. But yeah, here's the thing. That midfield there, in terms of optimal Arsenal, in terms of players, optimized to the best of their abilities, forget the actual players themselves, just the profiles of what they offer. That's an optimal Arsenal midfield to me. Powerful runner in the left eight that helps in both phases, that can score, that can do stuff on both sides with his feet, with both feet as well. An intricate player who can run all day as well, who can link up with both wingers, both fullbacks as well. And a sitting player who is quite good positionally, but is fantastic at turning out of pressure and getting the ball forward as quickly as possible. So that's an optimal Arsenal midfield to me in terms of just profile. Now, where we end up cheating here, the fact that we have a Declan Rice, and Declan Rice can play one half as a holding midfielder, stopping transitions, with his eyes closed kind of thing, getting the ball forward, whether it's with his passing or just picking the ball up and driving with it, and then play a second half where he plays the left eight. And I think in that period that he played the left eight, I think he created 3 or 4 chances, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And there were some of them were sheer running power, or what do you call it, or running off the ball and then getting into space and then crossing in kind of thing. I don't know many not even just defensive midfielders. I don't know many midfielders that can do what Declan Rice can do at a high level from the 6 and then switch up and do that from the 8. Literally, if we're being frank, it's only Rodri. It's literally only Rodri that can do that, and Rodri has a few more goals in his game than Rice. There is literally nobody else. It's incredible, and he done that not by strolling around. He was bursting past guys in the 85th minute.
It was quite impressive. I remember at one point he drove past what's that kid's name? The kid from City that plays for Wolves, Doyle.
Doyle, really
he
good
just
player,
ran past that boy like he was still at City. It was crazy.
Awesome.
Gabby, get in on this Rice, man. I know.
Listen, that engine is crazy. He genuinely amazes me. Sometimes I'm like, I can't believe we got Declan Rice. Because he just, sometimes I watch him, I thought he was dead on his feet for a while because he was huffing and puffing. And then when we moved him to the 8, he just is marauding up and down the field, sprinting and his strides are so long. Sometimes when I see him run, he's deceptively faster. He has powerful runs. He genuinely amazes me when I watch him. He just doesn't put a foot wrong ever. Almost ever he doesn't put a foot wrong. He, like you said, he can play multiple positions. The one thing that he always complains about is he wants to add more goals to his game, but he's just amazing. Genuinely just an amazing player. I would like to keep him at the 6 and just go get an 8, but Arteta's going to do what Arteta's going to do.
Yeah, I'm not particularly worried. I think his transfer record, I think at a bare minimum after the Havertz thing, after the season Havertz has had, given the way it began and given all the narrative surrounding him when he joined the club, I remember The Athletic posting the whole thing about that being the agents in the business saying that was the worst signing of the summer.
Oh, trust me, I saved that for the end of the season because I will have things to say.
Okay, I was about to put you on the big screen again, but maybe later. Gosh, guys, our next game. Well, actually, before we get to the next game, I want to talk about the coach. You mentioned this before in the group chat about Saka and how Mikel is supposedly ruining him and not allowing him to take people on. Then at the end of this game, he pulls that shit out at the end. You know what I'm talking about? That run at the end.
Yeah. So what's funny is that I think Saka is. I know he's a tough boy, but I think he's probably tougher and fitter than we're actually realizing, because for some reason he gets kicks more than anybody else. We've seen the stats, and this is proof. There's proof there. But he gets kicks more than anybody else. He plays almost more than anybody else. The amount of minutes he puts in is comparable to most team centre backs. He plays that much, right? But he pulls that shit out in the 86th or 87th minute, where he's taking the ball and goes past 3 or 4 players. Like a player that's struggling for fitness simply doesn't do that. You know, it's just a thing where the intensity of the game sometimes maybe he gasses out a little earlier. You're gonna gas out a little earlier against somebody like you're gonna gas out a little earlier against Bayern Munich. Absolutely, that's just how it is. But I feel like depending on the intensity of the game kind of thing, Saka manages himself actually quite well. You know, a lot of people talk about, oh yeah, he's now a wing back. You know, Arteta's got him, you know, doing way more defensive work, blah blah blah. Unfortunately, that's the demands of the game now. Everybody's wide players do it, unless you're Mohamed Salah, who guarantees you 30 goals a season, unless you're Mbappe, unless you're Vinny Jr. I'm not, and I love Saka. Saka is a fantastic, you know, pretty much borderline world-class player. The doggies, you have to run back towards your own goal every so often, unfortunately. Until Arsenal find a different way of, or even find that, you know, players that allow us to cheat a little bit more, everybody's putting the work. I would love Saka to what do you call it, to be more liberated and whatnot, but this is the Premier League. Arsenal are a fantastic team, but we're not at that level yet where we can just say, okay, 1 or 2 players, you know, we can carry you for a bit. We have to actually, unfortunately, buy those players. Saka can become one of those, but at this current moment in time, he's got to do his work like everybody else, man.
You know, in my eyes, you know, there was a lot of conversation after the Bayern game because he didn't have a great game.
Yeah.
About us not having that superstar in the ranks right now. And honestly, I find that very insulting to listen to because I think Saka is that superstar. He might not be there yet, but he's also only 22. Like, give him some time to get there. But for me, he's shown all the signs of potentially being that guy. And, you know, the hope is always that in a game like, you know, the game against Bayern, that would have been the moment where he stepped up and showed people like, yeah, you know, that's me. But I feel like he's done that in games that were just as big, you know, because
he scored an opener in the quarterfinal, guys. Let's not forget that. You know,
like, just because the tie didn't turn out in our favor doesn't mean that he didn't have a superstar moment in that tie. Gabby,
it's recency bias. It just is what it is.
What have you done for me lately? All of that rubbish, man.
Yeah. Things do move very quickly. I mean, like shit, man. Like it feels like we record a pod every 2 days, you know. So things just move. But it's true. People move on. People move on very quickly. But I think he's more than proven himself in that regard. He scored in big games against big teams, and he did it against Bayern.
I have no questions about him. I have no questions about him, and I have no questions about Odegaard. So,
yeah,
right. The idea of buying some superstar just kind of cracks me up because I'm like, we already have one. Like,
I still think we do. I still think
we need more talent. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like, we might end up buying someone like, you know, hypothetical. We buy someone like Rafa Leao. I still think he shows up and Saka plays him.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I won't say anything about Leao.
Like outside of Mbappe, maybe Vinny Jr. Who else, coach?
No, ain't no maybe. I won't lie to you. Mbappe, Vinny Jr., Rodrigo.
Yeah, there's not a lot of guys that are coming in and becoming the guy that we're like, okay, we're kind of setting up the place for you, you know, over Saka.
Yeah.
Like,
Saka
is the guy.
Look at his age mates. I mean, they like to compare Saka to any and everyone. But if you, let's say you compare Saka to like a Musiala, because we just played the Bayern game. Did Musiala score in any of those games?
Musiala had a good game, but I feel like his moments were.
He's a moments person, exactly.
Yeah,
but Saka is like either good throughout the whole game, or he has like a sort of tempered like performance. But he's never like. He was absolutely horrible today. Like there's very rare moments very rare games where you watch soccer and you're like, yeah, you need to hook him, pull him off. Like, yeah, he was horrendous. He's not that player.
Do you know what? Let's actually just pivot a little bit back to Musiala, and that's the type of player. Let's talk about him obviously coming to the Premier League, right? And I think it's funny that he's come. You know, he comes to the Premier. He might come to the Premier League to a certain team, and they have a certain player playing in that position that they want to play him in. And I think that's just pretty damn hilarious. Does anybody else find that funny?
Are you talking about Philip?
Yeah, it's a nigga called Phil, bro.
Phil. Velocious Foden.
Yeah.
If he's so good, why are they looking at Musiala?
I'm not gonna enter this discourse today.
You know me. I'm always gonna stick with the African name. one of the
Hey, man, I told you years ago, man, when you were comparing Phil Foden to Saka, I told you to stop that. I'm glad you stopped it eventually.
Listen. With good reason. Let's not disrespect Phil too much, but listen.
No, I would disrespect his whole lineage. Fuck that nigga. This is an Arsenal pod, nigga. Don't tell me who I can't disrespect from a different team on the Arsenal pod. What's wrong with you?
No, but
fuck Phil Foden, man.
I mean, in terms of players, like, okay, so Musiala to me, and Phil Foden is fantastic on the half turn. I think Musiala is on a whole different level to him on the half turn. The way he commits players and the way he can essentially run an attack just by having a yard of space is something different. It's something that Arsenal could do with, to be fair. City could as well, obviously, but Arsenal could absolutely do with essentially Musiala. Like, I feel like if we're talking about, you know, evolving this team, someone like him that can play wide but can also play through the middle. Arsenal's attack adds a whole different dimension now. Him playing in the left 8, for example, now, imagine how liberating that is for Martinelli. The fact that Musiala attracts 3 players every time he gets the ball, and then guess what? Martinelli has the freedom of the left half space to run into. Like, it's incredible.
Nigga, stop selling me dreams. Stop. It's too much. It's too much. You know, it's happening in my lower region.
He said, "Don't introduce me to a vibe you can't maintain."
No,
right?
for real, though.
There you go.
Please do it. Please.
Don't suggest nothing, nigga. Enough of that. Before we get out of here, back to the Wolves game. We did score a second goal. We kind of hinted at it. I thought Odegaard's finish was clever.
Incredible.
But he kind of annoyed me with his initial idea to cross it across the box.
Oh, thank God someone said it, because I was watching that back and I was like, why did you even try to cross that? Kai holds onto the ball to give you the space and separation so you could take a first time shot, and you try to cross the ball back? Shoot the ball. Like, what's wrong with them? What is wrong with them? Why do they not want to shoot? And yes, the finish was great that he got, but it was fortuitous to get the ball back in that position. Like, it could have they just, I won't cuss them too much because we won, but the decision making sometimes is so things like that should be so instinctual. Like, you put your foot through it immediately.
I don't know how else to say it. That's exactly what I was feeling. But I'm glad he scored the goal. He's not on my fantasy team anymore, which pains me deeply, but I'll live and learn. Coach, because I'm a nice person, I will allow you to take us out of here with an Alexis rant. 3, 2, 1, go.
He's a bitch. He stinks. He's dumb as fuck. Messi was right to call him a useless piece of shit. That was a waste of money. Pedro Rodriguez is precisely 1,600,032 times better player than he ever will be. Bukayo Saka at 19 years old is better than peak Alexis, right? Let's have it right. I don't think people understand just how frustrating it is to watch a player that could be of such even greater service to the team if he just realized he was a shit passer of the ball and a shit decision maker, and if he just accepted that I need to be a final product merchant and that's the end of it. He was it didn't make sense to me at times that he would ball hog when we had Cazorla, Ramsey, and Ozil behind him. It made zero sense. Why would you do that when you have all those players behind you that can find you all day long? It made zero sense. He scored a bunch of goals, and for the life of me, I tell you what the most frustrating thing was, right? 15-16 season, we've just beaten Leicester. We lose to Swansea, I believe. Then we go to United, right? It's the exact same game that Marcus Rashford makes his debut, gets 2 goals and an assist. That game, we lose 3-2. Varela, their right back, is on a yellow card from the 9th minute. Do you want to know how many times Alexis took him on? Right, their right back. You know how many times he took him on that game? A grand total of 0. The guy's a bum, dog shagging.
This is real hate because you just pulled those very clear stats out of your head.
Coach got the ill memory, man. He remember that shit. All I'll say is that he was supposed to be a final product merchant. Wenger made him a final product merchant when Giroud was out of the team with an injury. He was scoring goals upon goals, getting assists, and he was killing. Then he started bitching and moaning about not touching the ball enough, and he moved back to the wing, and we got back to sucking. That just expresses exposes the intelligence of this idiot. Like, I could not stand him. He's the worst star I've watched at Arsenal. I could not stand.
You know what kind of reminds me? He reminds me of Bruno, like Fernandes, a little bit.
I've been saying this for 50,000 years, guys. There's no, the only difference is the fact that they speak a different Iberian language. That's the only difference between them. Genuinely.
That's how we knew to let United fans know that, yes, this guy is scoring your goals and getting all these assists, but he's not taking you anywhere. And we told them early. They just found out like 2 seasons ago.
Put it like this. Alexis's best season for Arsenal, statistically, Arsenal finished 5th that year, guys. Arsenal finished, like, there's no way you can justify to me anything good this man done for us, because the simple fact is he played for himself. Had he accepted his role in the team, he could have scored even more goals. He just wouldn't have touched the ball as much, and we would have been fine. We would have been absolutely... Giroud going on long goal droughts wouldn't have mattered as much because we had someone else there that would have been there to try and sweep up. But the fact that he was trying to do shit... Put it, there's passes that Ozil wouldn't even have... that wouldn't have attempted, that this guy attempted. Like, the arrogance...
Fucked up every fucking time. Fucked it up every fucking time.
Listen, I just want to say, caveat, I'm not a part of this rant. I'm not part of this rant.
You're party to it, Trent Enterprise, you're party to it.
Yo, coach, you remember that period where he was on the left and every time he would try to cut in on the fullback, and every fullback in England knew that he was going to cut in on the strong.
God.
And they would just stand there and he just give them the ball.
Or he'd cut in and put a useless ball into the box and then start shouting at people saying, why aren't you there? It's like, he doesn't even, as a grown man, he didn't play with his head up. Like, to me, there was no redeeming quality about him outside of the fact that he could strike the ball quite well. Like seriously, he frustrated the life out of me. I can't even begin to describe to you.
At the end of the day, he was only ever at Arsenal because Arsene Wenger didn't have the money to buy a better player.
He wanted Suarez first.
Arsenal wanted to get rid of him. That's it.
He wanted Suarez first. People forget that. He wanted Luis Suarez first. That was it.
Like, and Luis Suarez wanted to come.
Yeah. Remember that. There's a whole headline there from saying, let me leave.
For him, so here we are.
So for any Liverpool fans listening to this, remember that.
Listen, I can't cuss Alexis because I started watching Arsenal in 2014, and he has brought me many of. We've been through the trenches, clearly, but he has brought me many good times too. So,
well, that's very classy of you, Gabby. That's for but you. At the end of the day, he is the worst dog shagger to ever put on an Arsenal jersey. And on that note, let us tell the people peace.
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 Y'all fucks better beat Chelsea.
And peace again.
Take your shirt off. Take your shirt off.